Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moments people had to let go of destructive pattern, meeting identity, and the internal battle in order to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. Big guest is Barry Cliff, a licensed financial service agent for over 25 years, certified financial educator instructor, and the man who turned one of the lowest moments into a lifelong mission to help family build what he called their MBA, massive bank account. But Paris didn't just learn about money from textbook alone. He lost everything. He relies on food stamp to feed his family, and with a wife of 29 years and five children counting on him, he made a decision to quit the financial pattern that had destroyed him, rebuild from the ground up. Today, he achieved a six-figure passive income and six-figure liquid, not net worth, and he spent every day helping other family to do the same. Yeah.
Welcome, Benaiah. Thank you for having me. It's fun. One of the big things in life is you got to realize sometimes that you got to quit in order to win. And I like that topic here because
Yeah, thank
some things in life you go down on one road and you realize it's really not the road you should be down. You got to stop and go back and sometimes start a whole new road. So I'm excited to be here and share some passions that I have about financial literacy and other things. So excited to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Paris. So, Paris, you lost everything and ended up on this food stamp. What were the habits, belief, or decision that led you there?
That led me to the losing everything, or that
Yeah,
helped me rebuild after losing
to
everything?
losing everything.
Okay, so before that time, I was actually making a lot of money and I was doing pretty well financially. And I was of the opinion, like many people are, that that money is just going to keep coming in and that you're never going to have to lose or worry about anything. And so I realized, with the idea that money was going to just keep coming in, I didn't save like I should. I didn't have the financial systems in place like I should have. And I just kept going thinking I'm going to be rich and this is great and everything's going to be great and keep going. Things outside of my control, like economic factors, like the housing market, all these things really affected my ability to continue to make money after the 2008 crash. I don't know how old your listeners are, but in 2008 in the United States was a horrible, I'm sure around the world, there were some significant things that happened economically with that housing market, the crash in 2008, 9 and 10. It was really bad because I was a mortgage professional at that point. I was a financial professional. I had a lot of
Mm.
clients that were buying properties and flipping them, and then they would take the money and they'd invest it with me. And so when houses stopped selling and property stopped flipping, they needed their money back and they needed to have it to continue to build and stay afloat themselves. So I basically, all the money I was managing for them dwindled to basically nothing. And so I realized that I was vulnerable to what was happening in the world. It wasn't anything that I did in my own personal finances other than I thought I was going to be, rich, and I thought I was going to be okay, but I didn't. And so I didn't plan as properly as I should have and could have. And now that I've built from that, that was one of the main the lessons that I learned is really managing my money more effectively.
Yeah, amazing. So, as a husband and father, what did it feel like to be in that place? And what did you have to quit telling yourself to stop the shit from coming you?
There's a little bit of feedback, and I'm not necessarily, I didn't hear the question. There's some feedback. There we go. Now it's back. I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So, as a husband and father, what did it feel like to be in that place? And what did you have to quit telling yourself to stop the shame from keeping you stuck?
Wow. It took a while, honestly, because I had a lot of guilt as a husband and provider for my family. And I had four kids at the time, one that was pretty brand new.
Mm.
I had my 13-year-old today was 1 years old when that happened. And so wait a minute. Yeah. No, wait a minute. I'm just trying to think. No, okay. I had four kids at the time. Now I have five. I had a fifth kid in 2013. Never mind. So I thought my 13-year-old was, anyways, I just did the math, but as a husband and a father, you want to provide for your family. And my wife was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and she didn't have work outside of that. And, I was just really it hit me hard. It hit me really hard because I'm a person who's very responsible. I believe in having integrity. I believe in being honest in my dealings with all my fellow man and with my business interactions, my clients. my creditors, everybody. I have an honest heart and an integritous heart. And so it was hard for me to go through that and not be able to pay my bills and have to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I can't pay you right now, and prioritize feeding my family over paying my
Yeah.
credit cards and my car payments and my, all those things. And I just remember, I remember sitting on the couch one day and just on the phone with one of my credit card companies, just screaming and yelling at me. They're going to sue me. They're going to take me to court. They're going to bankrupt me. They're going to do all this stuff to me. And I just like, I had nothing. It's like they were trying to get water out of a rock. I had nothing to give. And so it was very emotionally, and I had some PTSD for many years. In fact, I probably still have a little bit lingering still today, but it was very hard to be able to feel like I could provide again. And when you lose everything, one thing that you realize is that there's an old book that I used to read that I read a long time ago. It's called uh, the Ultimate Gift, and it's a really good book. And in that book, one of the lines says that you've never really lived until you've lost everything.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, I'm really living then, I guess, because I lost
Yeah.
my house, I lost my cars, I lost everything but my family. I lost all my major material possessions. Thankfully, my wife and kids stayed with me, and they pulled me through, and we pulled through together. And so now we're much better off. But it was just a really hard time to kind of go through that process. And I really contribute or attribute a lot of my being able to get through it to my faith in God and my belief in God. I have a really strong faith, or at least I like to think I have a strong faith. And one of the things that really pulled me through that time in my life was knowing that God was going to be with me and He was going to help me pull through. And with His strength and His power, I feel like I was able to do it. So that was a big thing for me, is that faith that I had.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. A whole lot to really learn in here, being that imagine more like a responsible person, having to get to the stage where they are yelling at you for a credit card and you couldn't just see anything. There you were just looking at nothing that could be done. Yeah, I could imagine it's really emotional and a whole lot of shame along with it. Yeah, that was really a whole lot.
Yeah.
That was really a whole lot. So what money belief did you grow up with to be completely dismantled before you could rebuild?
So I think one of the beliefs that I had was that money was always going to be there,
Mm.
and that money was always going to come. I did have, growing up in my family, though, I kind of got that belief a little bit later, but it was not like an underlying belief. But, growing up in my family, my dad, he did struggle from time to time. And we had some periods of time in our growing up life where we didn't have money, and he was looking for jobs and looking for work as well. And so I do remember those things. And then I remember my dad telling me one day when I was in the garage with him, we were working on something, and he says, in the future, money will be much easier. And so I got the belief that money was going to be easy, and so it was going to be easy for me to be able to make money. And so when I started making money, I was like, man, this is good. This is working. So I didn't really save like I should. And, there's a lot of parables and a lot of fables that talk about, the ant goes out and gathers
Yeah.
and then stores for the winter. And so I wasn't being the ant. I was being more like the grasshopper in
Yeah.
that fable, where the grasshopper doesn't save up for the winter time. And so I was just making money and living life. And I realized, oh my gosh, I needed to, after that, I realized that I need to have more systems in place to take care of my bills and stuff, should that ever happen again. The other thing too is that I realized that I had a belief that you could make money by trading. Like, for example, a lot of people, they'll go and they'll sell something and they'll make money, and that's one time. Or they'll go work for an hour and they'll get paid, and that's one time. Or they'll go work for 2 weeks and get paid, and that's it. And I realized, you know what? I want to find a place where I can go and work and then keep getting paid over and over and over
Mm.
again. So passive income. And so in that, I built the income that I have now is a passive income. Well, it's not 100% passive, but it's more like 80% passive, but it's still way more passive than my previous income. And so a lot of times, one of the beliefs that I had to rebuild was stop working for money and let money start working for
Mm.
me.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I rebuilt. When I rebuilt my business, I rebuilt it on a foundation of work once, get paid forever, or get paid for many years from
Yeah.
that one work.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow, such a lovely way of having to think after the financial crisis happened to come into being. The first one being the fact that there will always be money, and you having to see it graphically through the pain that, I think that's not the reality here. It's really a whole lot,
Yeah.
and the fact that you learn the hard way, and looking at the possibility of passive income, so that was really a whole lot. So most people in financial crisis keep doing what they know. What made you willing to do something completely different?
Well, I have a saying in my life now that it stems from that part of my life, I believe. And if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And that's my saying. And so I realized that what I had been doing got me to that point. And so I either needed to do it the same I needed to either do it in a different way or do something completely different. And so I was at that time in my life, I was working in investments and mortgages, and I was doing life insurance and other things. And I still have, I still do those things, but I pivoted into a passive situation, more passive situation with health insurance. And it kind of came to me, not because I chose it. Well, I did end up choosing it, but I had a friend call me and he was in the same business as I was. And he was losing everything too, and he was just like, "What do we do?" And he found a company that was gonna pay him more passively, and he called me on the phone and he said, "Hey, Paris, I've got a bunch of work down in your city, and this company is really doing well, and they're looking for more people. Would you be interested in working too?" And I said, "Absolutely. Let me take it out and check it out." And so, it was a health insurance company, and I'd never sold health insurance, didn't know much about health insurance. And my buddy said that he was making some really good money selling these health insurance policies, and that you keep getting paid even after, as long as the client stays on the plan, you keep getting paid year after year after year. And I was like, that's where I kind of was like, man, this passive income sounds way better than what I'm doing. And so it was more really a friend of mine, and I think God sent him to me,
Yeah.
honestly, but it was more a friend of mine telling me, hey, you need to do something different. You need to change what you've been doing and do something different
Yeah.
and see how that works. And so I didn't stop doing life insurance and investments. I did stop doing mortgages because the company laid me off, and I didn't go back to finding a new one, but I did work with health insurance. So I added that to my business. I didn't completely shift. I quit focusing on only life insurance and investments, and I added health insurance. And what ended up happening is the health insurance business took off,
Mm.
and I didn't for a little while, for a couple of years, I kind of stopped doing the investment stuff. And I still did a little bit of life insurance and stuff like that, but really focused on my health insurance business. So I kind of quit doing what I was doing and I moved over to health insurance. And that's where I've really, over the last 15 years almost, been doing really well. And now that that health insurance business is really good, I'm kind of going back to financial coaching now and financial education because I have a good, strong foundation of financial income that gives me the ability to now do that. And not that I'm quitting any those things, but I'm just kind of pivoting again to say, hey, I want to add back more of a focus on helping people with their
Yeah.
financial literacy and help them develop the habits, skills, and behaviors so that they can succeed with their finances.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing, amazing. That was really lovely. The fact that, yeah, circumstance actually more like make it available and your friend more like suggesting it. And yeah, that just take a whole new way. It's really amazing. And thank you so much for sharing. So take us back to the food stamp season. What was daily life was actually, and what was the moment you said,
Well, that's hard because it was a hard time in life. Being somebody who loves to be responsible and pay for himself and I'm a do it yourself kind of guy.
yeah,
And so it was hard to go down and get food stamps and qualify for food stamps, but it was what we had to do. And my wife, bless her soul, for staying with me and working it through. But we made a commitment to each other that we were going to do this together no matter what. So she went down and she got the food stamps. And I just remember several days where I would wake up and just wonder why I woke up. And I didn't want to wake up because it was hard and it
oh,
was tough and the days were long.
mm,
And I just looked forward to being able to go back to sleep because then I could kind of escape. But every day I would wake up and I would do my best to make the calls, to call upon the leads that I got from the health insurance company. I would do my best to really try to get out there and make money for my family. And I prayed even. I asked God, I said, God, should I get a job myself? My wife actually ended up going back to work and getting a job so that she could help sustain the family. And
yeah,
so, because God told me, no, keep working your business, I'll make it fruitful.
mm,
So I didn't go back. I didn't get a job. My wife did instead. And then I built my business. And within a few years, I actually had a business back going. And what was interesting is I remember several times when I was at the grocery store and I had the EBT card and I was there putting all the food on the conveyor belt have the lady at the register check me out. And I remember a couple of times having to put food back because even the food stamps weren't enough to cover everything. And
Yeah.
so I remember having to put food back. And, you look down the line and people would look at you weird, or you feel like they're looking at you. So it was just a bit embarrassing for that period of my life. And I just remember doing that several times where I just, I would get everything going. And then the lady was like, okay, you only have this much on your card. And I would say, okay, we'll put this back, or, take that away, or, and I just did my best to kind of make sure that I added up all the right amount. So, cause I didn't want to overspend and then have none left. And then but I didn't want to underspend and have a bunch left over. So I kind of had to balance my spending. And so some days I'd have to put some back as I left the grocery store as I was getting checked out. But then I remember years later when we finally started making money again, I just remember calling up our social worker and the government and saying, hey, we don't need food stamps anymore. And, they were just kind of shocked, like, hey, wow, this is crazy. So, people don't usually turn it back in, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So you have studied personal finance for over 25 years now. When did knowledge stop being the problem and mindset became the real?
Can you say right before you said what became the problem?
Yeah, you have
Can you say that
studied
again?
personal finance for over 25 years. When did knowledge stop being the problem and mindset became the real battle?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question because a lot of people, there's so much information out there right now. Like you can watch YouTube channels and listen to podcasts about different things. But really it boils down to your ability to follow through. And that's a mindset issue. I remember sitting at, years ago, I actually had a situation where I was, I wanted to buy something and it was a little bit more money. It was several $100s. And I was like, okay, I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to create a plan and I'm going to go just make some extra sales so I can pay my bills. And then I'm going to make some extra sales so that I can have the extra money to buy this thing that I wanted. And set my goal. I created a plan. I worked my plan. I hit my goal. I had the extra, I know I made the sales to have the money. And then when I went to my bank account to pay all my bills and then look to see how much I had left over to be able to buy this one gift that I wanted, the money was not there. And I thought to myself, I know that I did everything I was supposed to do. I know that I made the sales. I know that I made the money, but where did it go? Like, where did my money go? Why don't I have the extra money that I thought I did for this thing that I wanted to buy? And I decided to look through all my bills and realize that I had spent money, $10 here, $20 there, just a few dollars here and there. And before I knew it, that added up to several $100s. And that was all the extra money. And it wasn't a big thing. It was just small little things that added up to a big amount. And that's when I realized, oh my gosh, if I, as a financial planner who knows better, am being tempted by my habits and behaviors, what else is out there? Who else can be strong enough to fight against these temptations? And so that's kind of one of the things that really drove me as I rebuilt to help teach people, look, it's not about how much money you make, although that's important. It's about how much money you keep and how well you're managing it after you make it. And so I really got clear on my spending. I got clear on my habits around spending. And I decided that I was going to not do, frivolous spending anymore. And I have some systems now that I teach people about how to build a proper system for spending money. And so I don't have credit cards. Well, I have credit cards, but I get points, but I pay them off every month. I don't have any credit card balances. I don't pay credit card interest. I pay with credit cards for the points, and I get a lot of points every year. That was one of the big mindset shifts that I had to make, was recognizing that I know better. I know that if I have $100 and I'm tempted to spend $110, I shouldn't do it. I know that. But somehow my habits, my behaviors are, well, I have a credit card. I can just pay for it later. And so that is a bad habit to get into, that I'll pay for it later. Buy now, pay later is a bad habit to be in. And so I had to change. That was one of the big things that I shifted. And now I don't buy now, pay later. What I do is I save up my money first, and then I buy things from my savings. And that was a huge shift that I had to make.
Yeah, amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So lastly, for fathers or husband listening to you right now who is carrying the weight of financial failure, what is the first thing you need them to quit?
So I think one thing that you can do is just really take a look at your current habits, behaviors, and beliefs, and really be honest with yourself about what's happening to you and what has happened to you, and recognize that you are today, the person you are today is because of the choices that you've made in the past. And so if you want to have different results, you need to make different choices. And so I would say just take a look at the choices you've been making and start realizing that you can make better choices or different choices and get a different or better result. The other thing too is I want to really emphasize that you can do this. You don't have to quit life. Okay, that's not how you win. You don't quit life to win. You quit things, you quit behaviors, you quit habits, you quit activities. You don't quit life. Okay, stick around. We need you on the earth.
Yeah.
We need you here. Your wife needs you. Your children need you. Stay with us, please. That's the first thing I want to do is just plead with you to stay with us.
Mm.
After that, make sure that you take time to really evaluate the habits, behaviors, and skill sets that you've developed and see which ones you can change for the better, see where you can improve. I mean, one of the good things about YouTube is that you can go learn new skills on YouTube or in anywhere for free almost, you know. I would highly recommend if you have a concern, if you have an area of concern, go find a mentor. Find somebody, even if you have to pay them
Yeah.
a few dollars, find somebody that can help teach you the skills that you need because every skill is teachable, every skill is learnable, and you can learn it. If someone can learn it, you can learn it. And I just have faith in you. And I would say too, if you have faith in God and you have belief in God, turn to Him because He'll guide and direct you as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really reassuring. Yeah, thank you so much, Barry. The journey is more like how there's a whole lot to learn from there. It's a pleasure having it. So, for my audience who would love to reach out, to connect with you, either for coaching, consult, and for the various insurance. And for those who didn't know what you do, tell us what you do and how they could be able to reach out to you.
So I have a free gift if that's okay. Benaiah, can I offer my free gift
Yeah,
to your listeners?
yeah.
So if you go to pariscluff.com, that's Paris, Cluff, CLUF like Frank, F like Frank, pariscluff.com/free gift. And that's an ebook. It's the ebook that I actually tell the story about what I shared earlier about how I wanted to buy something and the money wasn't there because I've spent it frivolously at $10, $20. I share the whole story and I tell about what I wanted to buy. And then I go through the process of what I went through to be able to really free up my spending and really clear up my spending. And after going through that process, I actually ended up freeing up several $100s a month. Every one of my clients who goes through that process frees up 3 to 7. I've had people clear up $800 a month in just frivolous spending that they didn't even know that they were spending. And it's crazy to think, how do you not know you're spending $800 a month? That's just how it goes. Like, it's just really wild. And so that free gift, that book will take you through the process that I learned how to really discipline my spending and get good at being better with my spending. And then moving forward, how to really create a spending plan. Because I don't like the word budget. I like the word spending plan or, conscientious spending plan. And so how to create a spending plan that really fits with your habits, and then you can change those habits as you go forward. So that's a free gift that I want to do. I have a YouTube channel, Paris Cluff. Go search Paris Cluff on YouTube. You'll find me. It's Paris Cluff Financial Coach. You can find me on Instagram, all those places. Just do a search with my name, Benaiah. If you want to put any of the links in the show notes, I'm sure you'll put them in the show notes for people to connect with me. But I'm all over social media. Just type in Paris Cluff and you should find me.
Thank you so much, Paris. Your story just reminds us that weight is not just about numbers. It's about decision to quit the pattern that keeping your family from the life they deserve. Yeah, for those who would love to reach out, check the show notes and they'll quickly see the link to reach out to Paris. Once again, it's a pleasure and honor have you on the show, Paris.
Thank you, Benaiah.
Yeah, thank you